All right. Good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone.
Cool.
Two Geeks Talking is an entertainment industry interview show where we interview the creative people from the comic, film, TV, movie, and video game industries. Of course, I'm your host, Kurt Sasso. I'd have something on the lower thirds there, but it's February, and fuck it. So,
I love it.
so of course, we're joined today by a returning guest who has been on the show. I think you're in the Five Timers Club, if I don't.
I think so. I think Five Timers. Yeah, I think so.
At least, I'm stealing the SNL bit because he's Canadian and, it works.
Nah.
So, so we're joined today by, of course, if you haven't noticed already, we're joined today by Jay Horsley, of course, from a variety of past shows and a plethora of comics and podcasts and a bunch of other things that he's done. But he's back into comics for this particular interview, talking about the Einz anthology. Hope I said that right because I'm not gonna do a take two on this. How you doing today, John?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. It's a beautiful day here in Washington on the lake, and I took a break from relaxing with the kids today. And I apologize for any cars that drive by, but I decided to go outside for this because it's a beautiful day. Exactly. I mean, it's a little cold. I think it's like 48 degrees right now, but it's beautiful out here. So.
That's beautiful Canadian weather right there. That's t-shirt weather. Like, come on.
Right, dude. I'm in a t-shirt. I'm in t-shirt and shorts right now. So.
Perfect. So now you know how the Californians looked at me when I went to a film festival in 2016 wearing nothing but a t-shirt and shorts in 60-degree weather, and they thought I was crazy. Now,
that's 60 degrees. That's warm. Exactly. I mean, come on.
Exactly, So talk about, of course, the Einz anthology. Tell us how this came about. Tell us all about it, and let's get a nice pitch.
Yeah. So it's kind of a funny story. A couple years ago, about 2016, I decided I wanted to stop doing webcomics. I decided I've been doing them for 13 years. I had introduced and ran through 11 different series at that time, and I decided I wanted to try something new. So the big thing I saw on Kickstarter and all around were these anthology series where it was like, a bunch of creators tell a, themed stories. Like, there was a horror anthology or there was a romance anthology, stuff like that. And I was like, how can I do that? Because I like to collaborate. And if anybody who's followed me over the last, 16 years of my creative career knows that I like to bring in lots of people to work with me because I think it's really fun. And so for the Einz anthology, I thought, I want to do horror. I'm really good at drawing monsters and creating this whole like creepy atmosphere with things. So I decided, let's do a horror story. So what I did first, before I talked to anybody to collaborate with, is I created this Einz lineage, right? I created about 250 different characters with birthdays and death dates and names and children and siblings. And I mean, this whole family tree, right? Dating back from, it goes back to 1180, and then it goes all the way out to 2173. And then there's obviously I left some gaps to fill in later in that time span, but pretty much from like 1540 to 2040, you can follow someone's lineage all the way back and all the way forward. And I created all this, and then I decided, let's do something different than to say, hey, you go create a story, give it to me. If it's good enough, I'll publish. I decided to say, okay, let me hire some writers, right, to work with me and create this world. So I put the call out on Facebook in one of the many plethora of creative groups that are out there, and surprising to me because when it comes to doing serious stuff, I'm kind of not in that world. I spent most of my time doing humor and dick and fart jokes, so I ended up getting right around 250 replies, submissions to me to go through, and that was a ton of people to talk to and. It was a very busy month when I started this process to go through all these creations and stuff, and not creations, to go through all of these submissions. Mm-hmm. And so I whittled that down after about a month to 25, and I worked out terms with all these people to where the whole thing was everybody gets paid. Right? This is not a work for free thing. This was not a let's create a book, put it on Kickstarter, and if we get funded, we'll split profits. This was I'm hiring you, I'm going to pay you so you get paid, and then I'm going to make something awesome. Mm-hmm. So I hired 25 writers. I hired 25 because my initial concept was to put out one big, 250-page book. That was my original concept for the Einz anthology. So I hired 25, knowing that I'm going to have at least 5 drop out, right? Because people drop out, things change, they submit their story and it's not good, so it gets rejected, whatever. So that put me down to about 20, which is about where I wanted to be. And then that actually happened where I got down to 20, but then over time, people are like, hey, my buddy's a writer. He's written for X, Y, and Z company before. They was telling about your book and they're interested in writing for you. And I'm like, okay, cool. Let me talk to him. So then I ballooned back up to about 32 writers. And then at some point along the line, I was originally going to draw all the stories myself. But then about 6 months into it, I was like, man, this is going to take me forever. I have a full-time job. I have 5 kids. I have a life. I have podcasts that I have weekly podcasts that I do. So I decided, you know what? Let's go back to creative route. Let's bring in some artists and some people that can help tell these stories in ways that I can't. Mm-hmm. So I started bringing in, my very first contact for an artist was my buddy Rick Bugby, who lives in Michigan, and he's drawn some stories for me in the past. And I brought him back because, like, Rick, your art's amazing. You are so underappreciated in the comic book world. I want you to come do a story for me in this. And he jumped on board right away. And then I ended up getting some more writers, or more artists after that. And then after about middle of last summer, summer 2018, I decided, you know what? I need some help with this book to get this book together, because essentially where it is now is it's going to be 4 64-page square-bound graphic novels.
Wow.
Telling different stories throughout this timeline. But I realized this is a huge undertaking, and I can't quite manage all the aspects of this on my own. I'm very aware of the fact that I can't do everything, even though I want to. I can't do everything. So I talked to my buddy Casey. He's a writer. He runs the Comic Jam, which is a really cool website where people like team up for one-page comics and they do a theme. He runs that. And I said, hey, Casey, do you have any interest in helping me edit this book? And for him, by editor, I mean, he's basically the producer of the book, right? If we were making a movie, he'd be the producer, yeah. Right? So he's like, yeah, I'd love to. So he's come on. And since about July of 2018 or so, he's been helping me kind of keep focused, keep everything checked off and timelines, doing a lot of the little stuff that I just didn't have time for, just kept putting off, like making sure everybody had a contract signed for the book, making sure people got their payments on time, that kind of stuff. Because, again, all the artists, all the pencilers, inkers, the colorists, letterers, everybody's getting paid prior to the book going out. Mm-hmm. That was really important for me as a creator, to make sure that, there was nobody waiting on payment on it if this happens, because they did the work, they should get paid even if the book doesn't sell. Right. That was important to me. So I brought Casey on, and with Casey's help, that's when we decided to make it into 4 books. And we went through the process of picking the stories for the first 4 books, or the first 2 books, and then books 3 and 4 have not been decided yet, because we're waiting to kind of see how we get through books 1 and 2. Yeah. But we have enough stories to fill all 4 books right now. But I have a feeling, because what's been happening is the first book we put together and we put all the stories into it, and then we're like, man, we need a continuation of this story, or we need some more of this story in the next book. So we end up making new stories to go in the next books to continue the tales of the first book. Because the idea of the first book short stories, the pitch I gave the writers was really cool. In my opinion, it was really cool. I said, we have this world of the Ainz. In the world of the Ainz, there's this family that's, connected to the supernatural. They're connected to the monster world. They are drawn to supernatural. They are drawn to, the demons, the vampires, the witches, whatever. If it's supernatural, if it's demonic, they're drawn to it. They don't know why. They don't know what causes it. It happened eons ago. They have this second sense awareness of when something supernatural is around them. The monsters in the world, and I use monsters as a blanket term for anything supernatural for this book, the monsters around them are very much aware of the Ainz, and they are attracted to the Ainz. Like, if an Ainz is in the room, or if an Ainz is in the vicinity, they know, and they are without a doubt pulled to that person, or pulled to that family. Now, one of the things that I thought was an interesting twist to do on this is not all of the Ainz characters are good, and not all of the monsters are bad. It's very much a matter of their environment, who they are, who brought them up, like what their aspects were. Because we have Ainz characters that are bad, we have monsters that are good. Because I thought, and working with the writers, making it black and white, monsters bad, Ainz good, was boring. Right. We wanted to expand this to say there's a gray area. There's a huge gray area. We have people that don't care. We have characters that are like, yeah, I feel it there, but I want nothing to do with it. We have monsters who want nothing to do with it and just try and live a normal life. Mm-hmm. And the idea that I pitched to the writers was, you can tell any kind of story you want to tell. You want to tell a Western, horror story, a comedy, a romance, whatever. You can tell any kind of story. Their criteria is you have to use characters from the Ainz family. There has to be a supernatural element to it, and we have to be able to tie it into the overall arc of what the story is.
Right. Sounds good.
Because built throughout each book is an overall narrative. There may be 9 stories in the first book, but there is a 10th story that is the whole book, which was a lot of fun to do with 9 different stories written by 9 different writers. So we put all that together. We got the artists in, and we brought in a bunch of artists. We brought in Scott Godleski, who's the artist who drew Copperhead for Image. He's drawn Superman, Batwoman, Green Lantern. We brought him in to draw a story. Rick Bugby he actually ended up drawing 3 stories. Brought not in book 1, but throughout the entirety of the 4 books.
Right.
And we've brought in this guy from Indonesia to draw a story, and we've got people from all over the way. One of the stories in the first book is drawn by a guy in the Philippines, written by a guy in Nigeria, and colored by a guy in Philadelphia. I mean, it's a very eclectic world view of people. I've got people from all over the world in this book, which I think is
amazing.
Is cool. Yeah, I wanted to have a very good different set of voices in the book. We got people from all walks of life, which was important to me too, because I didn't want to have it just one voice telling a story throughout the ages, because that's that can be done if you do your research and stuff, but it means I different voices tell different stories, and I like that.
And the fact that it's a worldview, the fact that you're bringing different cultures, different environments similar to the characters and the monsters of your books, it's a global effort, is what it is.
It is,
and the fact that you're consciously not focusing on, well, I just want North American artists or North American authors or writers or whatever.
Right.
You've always been one to include absolutely everyone in any of your projects, and that's the great thing about what you've always done creatively, which is what I enjoy. But when it comes to this type of book, I mean, the one thing that's consistent with you, Jay, is that, and this is always everything that you've ever done is you go big or you go home, and you always go big.
Yeah. I try, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Because I figure if I'm going to do something, if I'm going to spend my free time that I could be doing something else with, I might as well make it big. I might as well make it cool and awesome. So yeah, it's you're right. I appreciate that, because I'm glad someone sees it besides me.
I mean, the fact that you can say, all right, take the kids, I got to do something.
Yeah.
Let them play in traffic while I do this.
Well, they're not quite in traffic. They're at home playing video games with my wife. My wife's very supportive of what I do, which is great.
Exactly. And good thing you included her in this, or else she'd kill you, or you'd be on the couch.
She would. I mean, yeah, exactly.
Talk about, obviously Kickstarter is going on with this particular campaign. The fact that you have 4 books coming out. Are you focusing on like all 4 for the campaign, or is this just going to be the first couple and then see what happens?
The campaign is for book 1, just for the first 64-page book.
Okay.
And then we're going to do our plan is to do it quarterly, because we have the momentum to get these first 4 books out once every 3 months. So our plan is to do 1 now, and then in 3 months from now do the second book, because the book, as of talking on this episode right now, the book is like 90% done. Mm-hmm. Right? We have a couple more pages to get lettered, and we have some pages to get colored. But besides that, it's done. So we're going into the campaign with an almost finished book. So there's not going to be any waiting, 3 months, 6 months, a year for it to be finished.
Right. It's
going to be, hey, the campaign's done. Here's the book. We're waiting on the printer, and then we're going to ship it out.
And that's
go to.
Oops.
I didn't want to go to Kickstarter with it not done. I wanted to go to it where I could ship it out within a month or 2 afterwards.
You kind of froze up there for a second.
Oh, I was just saying that I didn't want to go with a half done book. I wanted to go with a book that I can ship out soon after the campaign was over with.
And that's great. I mean, the fact that you're consciously like taking those delays that normally occur with these huge anthologies or anthologies in general, and you're just you're making it easier for the people that are supporting this campaign.
Yeah, trying to. And I figure if I'm asking people out there to take a risk on me and my creation by supporting the book with their hard-earned money that they work for, then I need to put something in first. That's part of the reason why I decided to pay everybody up front, get the book done before it went to campaign. Mm-hmm. Because if you're going to take a risk on me, then I'm going to take a risk on myself too.
Yeah, and probably a lot of these creative people that you've gathered for these books, I should say, may not have had this type of environment to, I guess, stretch their creative legs either.
Right. A lot of them were very, not to toot my own horn at all, but a lot of them kept telling me they were so happy to be working on this kind of a book, because I gave them a lot of creative freedom. Like all the writers, I gave creative freedom beyond very few constraints. I'm like, here's your constraints, work within that. Same with the writers. I told all the writers, like, okay, here's a script written by this amazing writer, but you are free to make artistic choices in the script that you think are appropriate. Now, every artist and writer, they'd be messaging me throughout their creation process to make sure what they were doing would fit into the whole overarching story, which was awesome. But for the most part, my answer was always like, hey man, if you think it's going to work, I trust your judgment on that. And if it doesn't work, I will fix it in the editing process, because one of the good things about having Casey and me working on the finalized story editing of the book is not only are we both writers, but I'm an artist and I'm pretty damn good with Photoshop. And if I need to make something change or look different in Photoshop for one of the pages for whatever reason, not because the artist drew it bad or the colorist colored it bad, but because we need to modify something for the overall story, I can just do it myself and not have to worry about bringing somebody else in for that piece, which is nice because then I can give them the freedom to try things, and if those things don't work, it's easily fixable.
Right, of course. Now, do you have any thoughts as to what levels you have, what's going on, or are you still kind of in that planning stage?
So we've got most of it down. So what we need, our end goal is to print 1,000 books, right? We want to publish 1,000 books because that gives me enough books to send out to all the creators, so they have copies, so they can sell them at conventions and get and make some more money off of this themselves. We have enough copies to send to all the backers, and then I have enough copies for me to sell at conventions as well. Because again, the funding goal of the Kickstarter is to pay for printing, right? Everything else I've been paid for. It's just for the publishing, the printing, and shipping. Nice. So we're looking at right around $4,000 for a final goal, and for which will cover printing and cover shipping. So,
and for 1,000 books, and including shipping, is incredible. I mean, that's a steal right there.
Yeah, we partnered with Kraken Print and worked with them to get things to where it's a manageable price point for us to be able to do 1,000 books with what we're trying to do, with the high qualityness of what we want to do, also being printed in the USA as well, which was important as well to make sure it's all printed in-house because that saves on shipping too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, of course, you're going to be doing a lot of interviews, a lot of shows. I'm glad you chose this one first. It really helped.
This was the first one.
Yay, I'm number one. Woo-hoo.
To be fair, my first ever interview on a podcast was on your show.
Was it?
Way back in 2007, 2008, whenever that was. 2008,
yeah.
Yeah. So my first time ever being on someone's show for interview was with you. So
I'm honored.
It works out.
And this is what it is, folks, to come full circle when it comes to people.
Right. Yeah. 11 years later.
See, we should have almost. I wish I would have done video back then because it would have been interesting seeing my skinny self, then to my fat.
Yeah, same. I think I was like 80 pounds thinner back then, so
I feel the same way. It's more emotional baggage these days. No, I'm just kidding.
Right.
Obviously, I keep hinting at the whole creative side of what you've done, and of course, people can go back to the past interviews, the past podcast episodes, and listen to all that stuff. But you're back into the podcasting scene now, doing a couple of shows, 2 or 3.
Yeah,
now?
a couple, 3 shows total. Yeah.
What do you got? Talk about those because that's always interesting for me.
So back in 2016, Kaylee, my wife, and I started back up Y2CR Radio. So we just kind of continued off where we left off, and we kind of started over because we took down all the old episodes and just started over at episode 1, and then through that show we kind of like did some re-edits on the old episodes and reposted them as quote unquote re-up episodes, which you were nice enough to give me a little intro for the one you were on. But
which you never actually sent me, so thanks for that.
Because it hasn't posted yet.
Oh yeah, okay.
Sure. It'll post. So I have an episode with my son about the Watsky show I went to, posting up next week, and then yours is actually the week after that.
All right, okay.
So, I didn't forget. It still hasn't gone up yet. So that's basically my wife and I just bullshitting, talking about life, our kids, building a house, not building a house, getting frustrated with stuff. A lot of the times we record them in the car because I have a setup. I have a setup now to where I can record pretty good audio in my car while we're driving. So we just kind of we both work together. So when we drive to and from work, we just pull out the recorder and record an episode. So it works pretty well. So I mean, we bring people on for it. We talk about quote unquote controversial topics. We had my buddy on, DJ Cupid, and we had a topic called why can't I say the N-word? Talking about race and racism and taboo words, stuff like that. And then we had another one with him called should you cross the street? Talking about if you're walking down the street and you see somebody who's dressed thuggish or dangerous looking, Should you keep walking or should you cross the street? And kind of ended up becoming, both those conversations went places I didn't expect them to go, which was really cool. So that show's a lot of fun. It's that one's not quite as frequent as I'd like it to be, just because my wife and I have very, very busy schedules.
Of course.
So it's all, that one recording time is all about her schedule, because I had to make sure because she works like 10, 12-hour days every day. So that's that show. My main podcast show these days is called Spoiler Country. And I actually do that with my wife's uncle, Kenrick. He's 8 years older than me. We've become very, very good friends over the last 3 years of doing this kind of stuff. We were friends before that, but kind of like getting into comics and podcasts together, we became like best friends.
Nice.
Which is cool.
It's like Step Brothers all over again.
Right? We become best friends. Yeah.
Oh my God.
What's funny is he's always been a comic book fan, but he was a really good creative writer in college, but he never wrote anything. But he actually has a story he wrote in the first Eins book. So he's now going to be a published comic writer. So that's really cool. He's excited. I'm excited for him. And he asked if he could try it out, and I told him sure. And he sent me a script. I'm like, dude, this is really good. I want to print this. He's like, really? I'm like, yeah, this is good. And I sent it over to Casey Madden, and he was like, yeah, this is good. So he's going to be in the book. But that show is about comic books, pop culture, and that whole world of geekdom, So with that show, we do pretty much an episode or two episodes every week. We review movies, we review comics, we talk to creators, we talk to directors and actors, we talk to our friends, we debate about topics, we just kind of like pick a topic and talk about it. We have a sub-series called the Tangent of Tangents, where it's basically we just push record and just kind of go off on whatever topics we can think of. And then we have a sub-show that I started about in October of last year, or 2017, called the Kickstarter Signal Boost, which I'm really proud of. And basically what it is I reach out or they reach out to me, and I get a hold of 2 to 4 people who have active Kickstarter campaigns, and I interview them for about 15, 20 minutes or so. And then we package it up into an episode with Kenrick and I talking about each Kickstarter and like why you should go back to Kickstarter with them. And then we release it and we just push links out to them, for the duration of their Kickstarter to try and help these indie people fund their books, which is funny because now I'm in that spot where I'm doing that. I need that for my book. And so that show's a lot of fun. And then that's my favorite. I love that show's taking me to San Diego 2 years in a row. We go to conventions all over the West Coast. I love it.
Nice.
And then I just started a new show. So I got my buddy Deech, who runs the Nerdtalkalypse podcast network.
Okay.
And he asked me if I would be interested in doing a show for him or helping out or joining a show with him. And I was like, well, the only way I could have time to do a third show, because I have 2 shows that I edit and I share editing with Kenrick, but we edit, we produce, and we produce and all this stuff. And the books that I'm doing and work and I have other books that I'm working on in the background I said, the only way I can make this work is if you let me just push record what I want to say and send it to you. I don't have to do anything else. And he goes, I can do that. I'm like, okay. So I started a half an hour show. It's called R3 with JH. It's basically just me ranting about stuff. And I didn't realize how much fun that show would be because, again, I can record in my car. So when I go drive to my mom's house or I go drive anywhere by myself that's over 30 minutes, I just grab the recorder and talk about something for myself. But it's been a lot of fun. And it'll launch in the first week of February. So by the time this airs, it's already out, I'm assuming. And because we're recording this earlier, secret tip, sorry there. But I've already recorded like 13 episodes and like fully done episodes and I'm a control freak, so I had to go in and edit it myself and add intro outro music. So I mean, I've done that, but that'll be out everywhere. It's called R3 with JH. It's a stupid show where I rant about stuff, and that's a lot of fun. But then I forgot to mention when I talked about Spoiler Country, I'm talking a lot on this thing, I'm sorry, but with Spoiler Country, we started a YouTube show called Drinks and Comics, where Kenrick and I make a drink, or we go to a bar and have a drink made. We talk about the drink, we drink the drink, and then we talk about a comic book, talk about a movie, a TV show, or something in the comic book world. And it's about a 10 to 15 minute long episode we release, and we release those every Tuesday. Nice. On our Drinks and Comics channel. So I'm quite the busy person. It's a lot of fun. I can't just sit still and do nothing. I mean, if you ever come to my house and see me, I'm constantly like, even while conversing with people, I'll be talking and then I'll grab my phone real quick and I'll make notes on something, or I'll do something on my phone or on my laptop. I'm writing a story or I'm editing something. We just picked up an iPad Pro with an Apple Pencil. Nice. So I can start drawing and coloring on that when I'm laying in bed or on the train. So I'm constantly wheels turning on something. And luckily with work, I'm in a position at work where I have a really good job. It takes care of me, and I bust my ass at work, but it gives me a lot of leeway for my schedule to make things work out because I work from home a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I can, like, middle of the day, I can go, okay, I'm going to go do a podcast at 1. I'll just work an extra hour later, and it won't matter as long as that break I'm taking doesn't interfere with something at work. I have that freedom, which is so cool because it allows me to get more out of my day.
Yeah.
And I love it. So yeah. So there's the podcast and the YouTube show that I'm doing, as well as this massive anthology and other comics that I'm doing.
Like I said, you go big or you go home.
I actually for the first time had to say no to some projects this last year, because usually I never say no, but I was like, I don't have time to kind of anything new.
Oh, geez. So how's the spoiler country been for your YouTube and all that stuff?
It's been good. So we started Drinks and Comics in October, and we did 6 episodes last year. We have not released one yet in 2019, just because of holidays, travel, stuff like that. So we're gearing up to start it up again, and then we have a bunch of ideas, and basically what I do is I just drive to his house and we just record a bunch of episodes, because they're only, as long as we do all the pre-planning beforehand, we get there, set up the lights, set up all the gear, and then record 4 episodes in a day, and that's a month's worth right there, So it's been going pretty good, though. I mean, the first 2 months of the show was really good on downloads and plays, and then the podcast is doing pretty good. I mean, I'm actually shocked about how well the podcast does, because I'm always like, because we, as you say, go big or go home. We started the podcast July 2nd, 2017. And by December 31st, we had done 50 episodes. And in 2018, we recorded 120 episodes for the year. And so there were some times where we released, like we did a thing last year in February called The Descent into Madness, where we watched and reviewed South Park, the movie, 7 days in a row.
What?
So every day for 7 days, we watched the movie, and then we got online and we recorded a review about the movie, a podcast about the movie and whatever, to see, does your review change after watching the same thing for 7 days in a row? It was based off this comic book called The Worst Idea of All Time, or not comic book, this podcast called The Worst Idea of All Time, where they watched Grown Ups 2 once a week for a year. And every week after watching it, they would do a review episode of the movie Grown Ups 2. They had never seen Grown Ups 1, just watched Grown Ups 2, and watched it once a week, every week for a year. And it's hilarious. So we decided to do our own version of that, giving them full credit on every episode, because we stole their idea, right? But we gave them credit for it. So hopefully they're okay with that.
It's exposure.
Yeah. So we did that. That was crazy. And my dumbass did that. We started that on January 31st of last year. Now, my wedding anniversary is on February 3rd.
Oh.
So guess what I had to do on my wedding anniversary vacation last year that my wife was not too happy about? I had to watch South Park and record an episode on our vacation.
So you slept on the couch.
I caught shit for that for about a month. So yeah. But I mean, all in all, she was fine with it. She understands, because I mean, really, I just got up before she woke up, watched the movie, and did it before she got out of bed. So it didn't really affect anything, But
that you know of.
that I know of. I mean, who knows? But no, it's a lot of fun. We do a lot of double posts. We do a lot of, we go to San Diego and we record and release an episode every day of the show, which is a lot of fun and a lot of work, because it's a lot.
Oh yeah. For
those ones, simply because I'm faster at editing than Kendrick is, I do all the editing for that, and I make all the graphics too for the show, because I'm the artist between two of us. So for those like San Diego episodes or the Emerald City Comic Con episodes, for that 5 days, I am recording, editing, and making graphics and making posts every single night to get it all out and get it all up. And I drink a lot of coffee those days.
Well, Emerald City is one of the conventions that is on my list to do. San Diego obviously is the be all end all type situation, but Emerald City I've heard great things about, and so and I need to get out west again. I haven't been out west since 2016, so I mean, I need to come back.
Well, dude, if you come to Emerald City, I only live 45 minutes from the convention center.
Oh, nice.
So this beautiful lake right here is just a 45-minute drive away from downtown Seattle. And you can come hang out with us and, come enjoy the lake. We can go to Comic-Con and have a lot of fun. I'll take you out for drinks.
Sweet. Sounds like a plan to me.
Yeah, I mean, free drinks. You can't beat that, right?
No. And I'll have to slim down for that because I don't want to get the alcohol weight on. But
how much you plan on drinking? Jesus.
I'm Canadian, man. I mean, it's kind of a pastime.
I mean, we have Labatt's Blue here too, so you'll be at home.
Oh, God.
Well, dude, funny story. When I was a kid, Labatt's was like, it was my shit when I was like 17 because like, oh, it's Canadian. It's got to be better than American beer or anything else. So I would drink so much Labatt's thinking it was like, it's a foreign beer. I was such a dumb idiot.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not terrible, but it's better than Coors Light. But
anything's better than Coors Light.
This is very true. But Coors Light's very cheap.
Because it's 90% water.
Right.
Oh God. Sorry.
Don't you go dying on me.
Anyhow.
At least release the episode first, then go die.
Wow.
Priorities, man.
But
Priorities.
You said you want this in February.
Right. Well, then just hold off on dying.
Okay. 3 weeks.
Oh my God, dude, if something happened to you in February, I would feel so fucking bad for this conversation. You have no idea.
I would feel worse for the person that has to go through the amount of footage I have on 7 hard drives. So yeah, okay.
Oh Jesus Christ, that's a lot of hard drives, man.
I'm trying to pare it down, actually.
Yeah.
But tangent aside here, obviously, Kickstarter is always a huge chance when it comes to creative projects. It's a pain in the ass, to be perfectly honest. But
it is
and it's your third or fourth job, literally, in your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kids take a backseat to a Kickstarter campaign, but it is what it is.
I don't know. I don't know if my kids will let me ever put them in the back seat. They're pretty ornery, but I keep trying to get them to work for me because my eldest is 16 now, and then I have a 16, a 13, an 11, and an 8, and a 5-year-old. I'm like, you guys are old enough to like take on some of the small jobs for me, like Instagram promotion, this shit that I don't care about. That you guys are kids for. And my 16-year-old's like, no, I want to go fishing instead. I'm like, come on, man, help your dad out, then go fishing.
Yeah, look, just promote my stuff for the past hour, and it'll be fine.
Yeah, like if you do some work for me, I'll buy you fishing gear. And he's like, meh. I'm like, come on, kid.
Geez, where's that entrepreneurial drive that
I know, right?
Anyhow,
have it.
Well, just if you can't bribe him with fishing, figure something else out.
I'll buy him some booze. I won't really. Nobody call the cops on me. Nobody call CBS.
A horrible television station. Anyhow. But tangent aside here, because that's what we are both known for that quite
very
well.
Much so.
Yeah. What else is happening then? Once this Kickstarter is done, what's the next project on the go for you?
So for the next year, I have a constant project of the Ein's Anthology where it's every 3 months we're doing this book. But in between that time, because I'm insane, I took a lot of my old webcomics and I started reformatting them into sequential comic book format and updating them to be actual comic books. So my Jolene Lonely series, I've actually created 10 24-page comic books out of that series that are completed and done. Well, 8 of them are done, 1 of them's half done, and 1 of them has to be finished. So to finish the whole story. So I've got those sitting on the back burner waiting to go out sometime in the next year. I've also completed full single issue comic books for about 4 of the other series I used to do. So I finished the book for Furry Animal Magic, which I used to do, that's a 48-page comic. It's all done, ready to go. I finished 2 issues of the series called Stolen Ideas that I did. Well, not Stolen Ideas, sorry. PD Comics, which is Public Domain Comics.
Mm-hmm.
So I finished 2 complete issues of that are just done, ready to go. I finished 1 issue of Stolen Ideas, which is done, ready to go. I have 1 more to do on that one. Now, Stolen Ideas is going to be cool because the idea behind that webcomic was I take other people's pages, strip off their writing, and rewrite them to make jokes out of them. Obviously with their permission. But to print it, that would be a logistical nightmare on royalties and shit.
Oh.
So what I'm in the process of working out with all of the creators that I borrowed pages from is, hey, let me print these books up. Nobody's getting a dime for it. I'm going to do this all to charities. This is all going to go to suicide prevention. So that's my goal.
Nice.
I've gotten signed up on a couple people. I just had to get everybody signed off before I actually put that book out. But that book will come out hopefully at the end of next year, and it can every penny it makes beyond publishing and fees will go straight to the Suicide Depression Fund.
Nice.
So that's my idea with that book. And then eventually I want to release my old Y2CL comic, the thing I started with. But I feel like I should do a lot of editing on that book to make it good. So holding off, that's a whole other undertaking I mean, it's not bad. I stand behind my work, but my drawing style and joke style in 2003, 2005 was very different than it is now. And I was known for rushing things. So I kind of want to update some things and make them better than they were, at least for the first couple of years of the series. But that's a project for like 2021 or 2022. That's way out in the boonies land.
Honestly, man, I remember Y2CL. I remember I think you're on for the 1000th page or 2000th page or something like that. And the amount of stuff you went through with that comic, like, I would just simply say, take what you have, format it for digital, keep it digital, don't worry about printing it, and then just start working that way as a bonus.
Yeah,
but it was funny, and you start editing stuff from your past, you start losing what you were to where you are now. You lose your history.
See, that's the thing too. It's like I keep telling myself that because that battle in my head of, should I make it look better to reflect me now, or should I keep it and then people can see the evolution of, oh my god, this is shit, to, oh, this isn't so bad,
keep the evolution, because that shows that you've grown as a person. You've grown as a creative artist. Artists in general, no matter if they're video editing, no matter if you're doing digital art or physical art or whatever, we all have that thing. Well, fuck, we can make this better. Damn it.
Right.
I know I've improved over this many years or decades or whatever.
Right.
But you have such a long history with this, 16 years plus.
Yeah.
Quite a bit. don't lose what you've done to change what you have. I mean, that's my personal opinion.
Don't George Lucas it.
For the love of God, don't CGI and stuff. Get the green screen out of here and just go back to your physical playing with toys.
Right. I like playing with toys. I have lots of toys. Man, you have coffee, and I wish I made coffee at my house, and I forgot to bring it down with me. Well, it's like, damn it.
It's been sitting here next to my Wolf Head whiskey, so
Oh, nice. Is it coffee whiskey or just coffee? I mean, do you have whiskey in your coffee?
Oh, no.
Oh.
No. For this show, no.
Oh. So I found out. So one of the drinks I made on Drinks and Comics was it was coffee with French vanilla creamer and brandy.
Mm-hmm.
And oh my god, was it delicious. It was so good. It was so good that my wife stole it from me and I had to make another one. She was like, nope, this is mine now. I'm like, all right.
Well, what you need to do, and this is just my personal opinion, is there's a local
Wolfhead?
Yeah, Wolfhead. There's a local brewery out this way. That was out of the old Crown Royal distillery.
Okay.
When Crown Royal moved out, they started making this stuff, and this is a beautiful, smooth whiskey.
Nice.
Honestly, if it's hard to ship alcohol, but
yeah,
you should try to find at least a bottle of this stuff, and you'll love it. It's beautiful.
I'm sure they have one somewhere in Seattle. Seattle has a lot of stuff like that.
Yeah, you should try to find it if you can.
I'll look for it because I like whiskey. So,
anyhow, as always, we always have a blast doing this type of thing. I love talking with you, Jay, as always here. Where can we find, of course, the Kickstarter campaign? Where can we find you on social media? Where can we find everything?
So everything for the book is being ran off of EynesAnthology.com, EYNES anthology.com. You'll find sample stories, information about the creators, information about each story in the book. The link to the Kickstarter will be right on the front page. You can go to Kickstarter and just search for Eynes Anthology and you'll find it. You can find me. You can find me at y2cl.net. That's my main website. Any social media, you search for Y2CL. It's going to be me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, everything. And then if you want my podcast, just search for Spoiler Country, or search for, we changed the name of the other one from White Studio Radio to Haphazard Adventures, or my other third one, R3 with John H. Just search for those, or just go to whitestudio.net. They're all listed on there.
See, it's that easy.
It's that easy, man. It's that easy.
Hey, Jay, as always, thanks so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it here. And
yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
It's been a couple of years since you were on the last time, actually, I think.
Yeah, I think it was, last time I was on was 2016.
Okay, cool. Not too long.
It was when I was doing that insane, I'm going to release 1,000 pages of comics this year in 2016, which I did, by the way. I did 1,031 comic pages that year for webcomics. And then I was like, I'm done with webcomics at the end of that year.
Yeah, time to take a bit of a break on that one.
Yeah, I took a break and refocused to the Ein's anthology stuff. So,
Well, it was a good transition too.
Yeah,
I
hope so.
I've seen the samples. I've seen a lot of the work. Great artwork, great stories. Such a wide variety of creative, and talented people. Check it out. Look out the Kickstarter campaign. Enjoy it because he does great work and he gathers the people that love to do great work as well around him. So check it out. Ein's Anthology on Kickstarter. Link will be down below somewhere there as well too. Thanks for everyone for listening and watching. Tune in to another great interview on Two Geeks Talking, now in its 11th year. Thanks for pointing that out, Jay. And of course, we'll bring on another creative person that is in the comic, TV, film, movie, video game, and I haven't had a musician on in a while, actually.
I'm a musician.
Yeah, I know.
I've recorded like 4 studio albums.
Yeah, no, I remember.
I'm sure everybody watches like, dude, shut up. Stop talking about all the shit you've done. It's too much.
It's all good. No, but anyhow, you can find, of course, this interview and I think over 1,000 others on tgtmedia.com or twogeekstalking.com. You can find me on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all Kurt Sasso, KurtSasso. And you can find anything else that I've done by just searching for Two Geeks Talking. If there's anyone that wants to come on the show, by all means, either reply in a comment to this, either email me, kurtsasso@gmail.com, go to any one of the Twitter campaigns that I have or whatever social medias and ask for me there. Again, thanks everyone for listening and watching. Tune in next week for another great interview on Two Geeks Talking. All right.